listen, gather round, my people. Wonders shall never end. This Sunday man, Oversabi is his middle name. This man rented one room in a compound and somehow promoted himself to landlord, caretaker, security guard, and chairman of tenant affairs overnight. Sunday knew everybody's business more than they knew their own. If your visitor came, he would ask questions. If you returned home late, he would investigate. If you stepped out for 2 days, he was already taking attendance and looking for your file. Before long, the entire compound felt like a secondary school and Sunday was the principal. But what happened when he finally met someone who refused to obey his imaginary rules? My people, sit down very well and don't go anywhere because today's story is one for the books. Now, the compound itself was a fine compound in the village of Lukman. Landlord Brother Zara had built it with his own money and his own sweat before he traveled to the city for business. 7 rooms, 7 families, 1 borehole, 1 generator that had its own personality and only cooperated when it felt like it. Normal compound life. Or at least it was supposed to be normal. But from the day Sunday moved in, 3 years before our story begins, that compound changed. The first thing Sunday did when he arrived was walk the entire length and width of that compound with his hands clasped behind his back, like a general surveying new territory. He studied the gate, he inspected the fence, he knocked on the borehole pipe the way a doctor knocks on a patient's chest. Very serious, very thorough. He looked at the generator and nodded slowly, as if to say, "Yes, I will handle this from now on." Then he went inside, brought out a plastic chair, a faded blue plastic chair, carried it straight to the entrance of the compound, set it down, sat in it, crossed his legs, and looked out at the world. And that chair, my people, became his office, his post, his throne. From that chair, Sunday saw everything. He noted who left in the morning and what time they came back. He noted who had visitors, what those visitors looked like, and how long they stayed. He even noted what people were cooking, because according to Sunday, the smell coming from your pot could tell him the kind of person you were. "Mama Ibube," he called out one morning, "is that crayfish I am perceiving this early in the morning? You know that crayfish is not a morning ingredient, oh? You people are not managing expenses carefully." Mama Ibube gripped her wooden spoon, took one deep breath, counted to 10 in her spirit, and went back inside without answering him, because everybody in that compound knew that if you answered Sunday, you had entered a meeting, and that meeting had no closing prayer, no benediction, and no end time. Now, Sunday had a notebook, a real physical primary school style exercise book, and in that notebook, Sunday wrote things down. What things exactly, no one could confirm, but the notebook was always within reach, and whenever a stranger came through the gate, Sunday would arise from his chair, position himself in the path, and begin his interrogation. "Excuse me, who are you looking for?" "I am looking for Bro Emeka, room 4. "Which Emeka?" "The one in room 4. "I know who stays in room 4. I am asking, who are you? Your full name, where you are coming from, your relationship to the occupant, and the nature of your visit." The visitor, who had only come to return a borrowed 500 naira, would stand there and answer every single question. Sunday would write carefully in his notebook, look the person up and down one final time, then step aside. "You may enter. Do not stay more than 1 hour. This is a residential compound, not a visiting center." The visitor would walk in completely shaken, wondering if they needed an appointment and 2 passport photographs next time.
Now, Sunday had a reason for all of this, or at least a reason he believed with his full chest. And this time, my people, the reason was not entirely made up. You see, on the day Brother Zara was preparing to travel to the city, He called Sunday aside. Sunday was the oldest tenant in that compound at the time. He had been there longer than anybody else. And Brother Zara, being a straightforward man, said to him simply, "Sunday, you are the oldest person here. If anything goes wrong in this compound, please let me know. Just help me manage the place small." That was it. That was all Brother Zara said. Help me manage the place small. If anything goes wrong, let me know. Simple, ordinary, neighborly instruction. But Sunday heard something else entirely. In Sunday's ears, those words landed like a presidential inauguration speech, like a commissioning ceremony, like a full transfer of authority from landlord to tenant. By the time Brother Zara's vehicle had disappeared down the road, Sunday had already been promoted in his own mind from tenant to everything else. And so he monitored everybody and everything. He monitored Bremeka in room 4. Bremeka was a young man who was learning how to repair and make shoes. Every morning, he would carry his small table outside, set it in front of his door, arrange his tools, and begin his work. Fresh air, good light, and peace of mind, that was all he needed. But Sunday would not allow it. "Emeka, what is this table doing outside?" Bremeka would look up. "I am working, sir." "Working, care? Is this a workshop? Is this a market? Pack this table and go inside." "But the light inside is not..." "I said go inside. You want to turn this compound into a mechanic village? Pack your things." Bremeka, who was a peaceful person and did not want trouble, would carry his table, carry his tools, carry his chair, carry his shoes one by one and go back inside, doing work in the dark, suffering in silence. And Sunday would walk back to his chair very satisfied with himself, as if he had just solved a national problem. But one day, one particular Wednesday, something small happened that the compound never forgot. Bremeka had been inside his room since morning, working in his corner by dim light, squinting at fine stitching. His neck ached, his eyes were burning. But he said nothing, packed nothing, disturbed nobody. Around midday, a customer came, a big woman from the next street, holding a pair of platform shoes that had seen better days. "Emeka, where are you? I brought my shoes, oh." Emeka came out. He collected the shoes. He was about to carry his table outside to walk in the light. Then he saw Sunday stand up from his chair. He carried the table back inside. He tried to walk on those platform shoes by the light of his phone torch, holding the torch with his teeth, stitching with both hands. The customer waited outside. She waited. She fanned herself. She checked her phone. After 40 minutes, she knocked. "Emeka, what is happening? Why are you inside? The sun is outside, oh." "I am coming, ma." "Is the light inside not working?" "It is working, ma." She pushed the door open, saw Bremeka on the floor, phone torch in his teeth, shoes in his hand, squinting like a man defusing a small bomb. She stood there. Then she walked out, walked straight to Sunday at his chair, put both hands on her waist and said, "Oga Sunday, why is that young man walking in the dark like a criminal? Is it his table that offended you? Compound rules, K. Which compound rules say a man cannot put his table in front of his own door? Which rule? Show me the rule." "Madam, if you are not a resident, I am a customer and I am telling you to your face, if anything happens to my shoes because of your nonsense rules, you will pay them with your own money." She walked back to room 4. Sunday opened his notebook, closed it, opened it again, closed it. He had nothing to write. He monitored Mama Ngozi in room 2, whose husband traveled for trade every few weeks. Any time that woman's husband stepped out of Lukman, Sunday increased his patrols near her corridor. If a male relative, brother, uncle, cousin, anybody came to visit her, Sunday would greet that man so thoroughly, question him so deeply, stand so close, and linger so long beside him that the relative would leave the compound feeling like he had just been processed by a government security checkpoint.
Mama Ngozi gathered the women one evening and said flatly, "This man is monitoring my life as if his name is on my rent receipt." Said Mama Ebube. Meanwhile, his own rent, the landlord is still waiting for 3 months. 3 whole months, my sister. Yes, that part was also true. Sunday owed Brother Zara 3 months of rent, but his dedication to managing other people's affairs never wavered, not even slightly. Now, one afternoon, Mama Ngozi's uncle came to visit. Old man, grey hair, walking stick. He had traveled from the next village to bring her palm oil and dried fish that her mother had sent. He came through the gate slowly, breathing hard from the road. Sunday stood up. "Good afternoon, sir. Who are you looking for?" The old man blinked. "I am looking for my niece, room 2. "Your name, sir?" "I am Chief Obiako, her mother's senior brother." "Your former address?" The old man looked at Sunday the way old men look at things they do not have the energy to explain. "My son, I have walked since morning. I am carrying palm oil and dried fish for my niece. I am 68 years old. I have a walking stick. Do you want to check inside the walking stick also?" The compound went quiet. Even Sunday did not have an immediate answer for that one. Chief Obiako walked past him, entered room 2, and sat down heavily on Mama Ngozi's chair. Sunday stood at the gate for a long moment. Then he opened his notebook and wrote something down. Nobody knew what he wrote. Nobody asked. He seized control of the generator. No other tenant was permitted to touch it. Sunday had appointed himself the sole operator, and he performed this duty with great seriousness. He would wake before everyone else just to be first at the switch. And if anyone needed light before Sunday had personally authorized it, even if Sunday was standing right there in front of the generator, he would say, "Hold on, let me check the fuel level first." He would then spend 15 minutes checking a fuel level that takes 15 seconds to check, because his walk from his chair to the generator was also a patrol route, and patrol routes cannot be rushed. One night, around 9 p.m., the generator went off. Everywhere dark. Children started crying, people came out with torches and phone lights. Mama Ibube's pot was still on the fire, stew that had been simmering for 1 hour. She rushed outside. "Sunday, put on the generator, my stew." "Hold on, let me check the fuel level." "Sunday, my stew is on the fire. There is no light. I cannot see anything." "Mama Ebube, I said hold on. My stew will burn. Order must be maintained even in darkness." "Order? Sunday, if my stew burns, I will..." She did not finish the sentence. She ran back inside and used her phone torch to rescue her stew. She poured it into a covered pot, set it aside, came back outside, looked at Sunday, still checking the fuel level by his own phone torch, very slowly, very thoroughly, and she pointed one long finger at him. "Sunday, mark my words, one day, this compound will breathe without you." She went inside and slammed her door. The stew was saved, but it was not the same stew. The interruption had changed it, and Mama Ebube knew, just as everybody knew, that Sunday had changed this compound in the same exact way. He created a water schedule. He typed it on someone's laptop, printed it, and pasted it on the compound wall. Nobody was consulted, nobody agreed to it, but there it was. Time slots for each room, each family, each bucket, rules for the borehole, instructions nobody asked for. If Mama Ebube fetched water outside her assigned time, Sunday would appear from nowhere, like a spirit that had been waiting. "Mama Ebube, your time slot is 7 to 8. It is 8:22. Order is order. If everybody does as they please, I just want water for my children to bathe before school." Discipline, Mama Ebube. Discipline is the foundation of a functioning community. "God will judge you, Sunday." She would mat away before she said something that would require her to go for deliverance afterward. The children of the compound had developed fear. If a child ran across the yard, Sunday would stand up immediately. "Young man, stop running. This is not a playing field." The child would freeze on the spot. "What is your name?" The child would whisper it. "This compound is a place of order. Walk and go and read your books." The child would tiptoe back inside. But one day, one particular afternoon, a small girl named Adeze from room 3 was chasing a rubber ball that had rolled near the gate. She was maybe 5 years old, tiny, running with the full joy of a child who has not yet learnt that joy can be regulated. "Young lady, stop!" Adeze froze, ball at her feet, eyes wide. "Do not run in this compound." Adeze looked at the ball, looked at Sunday, looked at the ball again. Her lip began to tremble, and then she sat down on the floor, right there in the middle of the compound, and she began to cry. Not loud, dramatic crying, quiet crying, the kind that comes from a small person who does not understand what they did wrong. Mama Chisom came out of room 3 like she had been launched from something. "Sunday, what did you do to my daughter?" "I simply told her not to run. She is 5 years old. 5. She was chasing her ball. What is wrong with you?" "There are compound rules." "Rules for a 5-year-old chasing a ball?" Mama Chisom picked up Adeze, ball and all, and faced Sunday fully. "I will tell you something today, Sunday, free of charge. If you ever make my child cry again with your nonsense rules, I will carry your plastic chair, put it on my head, and return it to wherever you bought it. Do you hear me?" Sunday opened his notebook. "Mama Chisom, I am only..." "Write my name. Write it well. Capital letters, because I said what I said." She went inside with her daughter. The compound was silent. Sunday wrote something in his notebook. Then he sat back down. But something had shifted, something small and important, because even Sunday, even a man carrying authority that nobody gave him, even that kind of man feels it when a 5-year-old sits on the floor and cries because of him. He did not show it, but he felt it. Complaints reached Brother Zara through phone calls. "Brother Zara, this tenant Sunday is not letting us rest in this compound." And Brother Zara, a busy man who received these calls between one task and another, would say, "Manage him small, he means well." Then he would hang up. Sunday, whenever he heard that someone had called the landlord, would sit up straighter in his chair. "Let them call. I am only doing what I was asked." This was the life of that compound, month after month after month, until one Tuesday morning, a Sienna bus turned into the compound. From that bus came boxes, bags, a mattress, a standing fan, a small refrigerator, a gas cooker, and then, finally, a woman. Her name was Mrs. Liver, widow, retired secondary school teacher, 61 years old. She had come to take over room 6, which had been empty for 2 months. Sunday stood up from his chair. He had already spotted the vehicle from down the road and had been preparing, adjusting his wrapper, clearing his throat, uncapping his pen, and flipping to a fresh page in his notebook. As Mrs. Liver stepped down from the vehicle, Sunday moved forward. "Good morning, Ma. Welcome. My name is Sunday. I oversee this compound on behalf of the landlord. I will need your full name, your former address, your guarantor's details, and your planned length of stay." Mrs. Liver stopped. She looked at Sunday. Then she looked at the house. Then back at Sunday. And then she smiled. The particular smile of a woman who taught secondary school for 35 years and can recognize a familiar kind of energy from 50 meters away. "Good morning," she said warmly. "My name is Mrs. Liver." Sunday's pen stopped on the page. "I beg your pardon?" "Liver," she said again, bright and unbothered. Liver. My late husband's family name. And before you start, yes, I have liver, plenty of it, enough for this compound and everywhere else I have ever lived. So whatever it is you are about to try, know that you are dealing with a woman who has liver." She smiled sweetly. "Now,
which room is yours?" The compound did not erupt in laughter, not openly, but Mama Ebube turned to face her wall very suddenly. Braimeka found something on the floor that needed urgent attention. Mama Ngozi pressed her lips together very tightly at her window. Sunday blinked. "Room 1, Ma, but I am the one who—" "So, you are a tenant," she said pleasantly. "Yes, but the landlord asked me to. Do you have that in writing?" My people, the compound went completely still. Sunday's mouth opened, closed, opened again, because in 3 full years of overseeing that compound, not one single person had ever asked him that question. "Ma, it was a verbal understanding." "I see," she said, the way a teacher marks a wrong answer. She turned back to the men carrying her things. "Let us continue. Bring everything inside." And she walked calmly into her room. Sunday stood at the entrance, pen uncapped, notebook open, the question still hanging in the air above him. He recovered by evening and decided the woman was new and did not yet understand how the compound operated. He would educate her with time. But Mrs. Liver had not come to Lukman to be educated by a fellow tenant. The very next morning, she came out before 7, walked straight to the borehole and began fetching water. Her own time, her own pace, no schedule consulted. Sunday appeared within minutes. "Good morning, Ma. I see you are not yet aware of the compound water schedule. Your assigned slot is 9 to 10. It is currently 6:55. Mrs. Liver turned slowly and looked at him. "Who made this schedule?" "I did, for the smooth running of—" "Did Brother Zara ask you to make it?" "Ma, the compound requires—" "Did Brother Zara ask you to make it?" Sunday opened his mouth, closed. "Eh." She turned back to her bucket. "I will fetch my water now. Thank you, Sunday." "Ma, I must insist." Mrs. Liver set her bucket down slowly. She turned and faced him fully, and when she spoke, the whole compound heard every word. "Sunday, listen to me very well. I am 61 years old. I have lived in compounds in Lagos, Enugu, Asaba, Port Harcourt, Owerri, and now Lukman. 6 compounds, and in all 6 of those compounds, not one fellow tenant has ever given me a timetable for water. The borehole belongs to Brother Zara. My rent is paid and up to date, unlike some people in this compound whose names I will not call, and my name is Liver, which means I have liver. So this water schedule of yours, with all due respect, can go back to wherever it came from." She picked up her bucket. "If you have a complaint, I will personally give you Brother Zara's number, since it seems you have not called him yourself. Good morning." Mama Ebube walked into her kitchen and did not come out for 5 minutes. When she came out, her eyes were red from the effort of not laughing. Braimeka hammered a sole very loudly and unnecessarily for about 30 seconds. Mama Ngozi vanished from her window completely. Sunday stood by the borehole. Then he walked back to his chair and sat down. He was quiet that morning, but he was not finished. Sunday was not a man who accepted things easily. 2 days passed. Sunday watched Mrs. Liver carefully from his chair. She moved through that compound like a woman who had never received a memo and did not intend to read one. She fetched water when she wanted. She cooked when she liked. She greeted everybody with warmth and stopped to play briefly with little Adiaze from room 3, the same child he had made cry. This was already annoying to Sunday, but what happened on the 3rd day was worse. Mrs. Liver walked to the compound wall, looked at the water schedule Sunday had posted, read it carefully from top to bottom. Sunday sat up straight. She reached up, calmly, without drama, and peeled it off the wall, folded it twice, and put it in the pocket of her house dress, and walked back to her room. Sunday was on his feet before he knew it. "Ma, that schedule is compound property." Mrs. Liver turned at her door. "Is it laminated?" "What?" Is the schedule laminated? Did you spend money to laminate it? No, but then it is paper, and paper does not stay on a wall in the rain. I removed it before it got wet and embarrassed you. She smiled pleasantly. You are welcome. She closed her door. Sunday stood in the middle of the compound.
Mama Ngozi turned away from her window so fast she nearly hit the wall. 3 days later, Mrs. Liver's son came to visit, a tall, cheerful young man who carried her mother's extra box from the vehicle she had forgotten to unpack. He greeted everyone warmly and went into room 6. 40 minutes later, Sunday knocked on the door. Mrs. Liver opened it. Ma, your visitor has exceeded the 1-hour compound visiting limit. I need to know his Sunday. Her voice was quiet, dangerously quiet. This is my son. He came to bring my box. Would you like to see his birth certificate to confirm? Ma, the rules apply to every which rules, Sunday. She stepped fully outside her door now, and her voice rose just enough for the compound to hear without her shouting. Which rules? The rules you wrote yourself, alone, at night, on somebody else's laptop, without asking one single person in this compound? Those rules? You want to use those rules on my son? Sunday pointed his finger. Ma, I am maintaining order. Order. She almost laughed. Sunday, the only thing you are maintaining is everybody's suffering and your own delusion. You are a tenant, a tenant. You pay rent when you pay it, just like the rest of us. Brother Zara did not give you a key to this compound. He gave you a room. One room, and yet you have turned yourself into landlord, caretaker, security, community chairman, and now visitor coordinator. For what? For what, Sunday? The compound was absolutely silent. Even the generator had no comment. Sunday lowered his finger slowly. Mrs. Liver straightened her wrapper, took a breath, and continued in a calmer voice. I am not your enemy, but I will not be managed by you. Nobody in this compound should be managed by you. And if you have a little sense remaining underneath all this oversabi, you will sit down, return to your room, and ask yourself what you have built in the 3 years you have spent monitoring other people's lives. She looked at him for one long moment. Then she went back inside and closed the door. Quietly, finally, like a full stop at the end of a very long sentence. Sunday stood outside room 6 alone. From inside, he heard Mrs. Liver's son say something in a low voice, and then he heard Mrs. Liver reply, "Leave him, he will learn." Sunday walked back to his chair. He sat down, he opened his notebook, stared at the open page for a long time, then he closed it. That evening, Sunday called Brother Zara, not to report anyone, just to talk. And Brother Zara, surprised to receive this kind of call from Sunday, listened and then said quietly, "Sunday, I hear you have been very busy in that compound. I am coming on Saturday. Let us talk properly." Saturday came. Brother Zara gathered all 7 rooms. He thanked everyone for their patience. He stated clearly in front of the whole compound that he had asked Sunday only one thing, to let him know if anything went wrong. That was all, nothing more. He had not appointed any overseer, no compound captain, no monitor, no chairman of any kind. He looked at Sunday. Sunday looked at the floor. The rent arrears were handled privately, but Brother Zara made one public request, that the blue plastic chair return inside Sunday's room where it belonged. The chair went inside that same evening, and the compound breathed. Mama Ebube fetched water at 6:50, and not one person looked up. Bro Emeka carried his table outside, set it in front of his door, and walked in the fresh air and good light, the way he had always wanted. Mama Ngozi's brother walked through the gate like a free man,
unquestioned, unstudied, unwritten into any notebook. Little Adaize ran across the yard at full speed, rubber ball bouncing ahead of her, laughter trailing behind her like music. Nobody told her to stop. Sunday stayed in his room for 2 weeks. And in those 2 weeks, something shifted in him. The kind of thing that happens when truth is delivered without wickedness, which is exactly how Mrs. Liver had delivered it. On the 3rd week, he came outside quietly, walked to where Bremeka was working at his table, sat down on the step beside him. "That stitch," he said, after a long moment. "Can you show me how it is properly done?" Bremeka looked at him. Then he picked up the thread and the needle and showed him without saying a word about the past. And that was how it began. Sunday was slow. His fingers fumbled. He was corrected more times than felt comfortable. But he kept coming back. And slowly, the same hands that had spent 3 years pointing at other people's affairs began to build something of their own. Mrs. Liver watched from her doorway, cup of tea in hand, and allowed herself a quiet smile. But she was not done with Sunday yet. That evening, Mrs. Liver did something that shocked everybody, including Sunday. She knocked on his door. Sunday opened it slowly, face already arranged for trouble. But Mrs. Liver was holding a small plate, fried plantain and egg sauce, still warm. "I made too much," she said simply. "Eat." Sunday looked at the plate, looked at her, looked at the plate again. "Ma, Take the food, Sunday. I did not come to fight you." He took it. She walked back to her room without another word. Sunday stood at his door holding that plate for a long time. Mama Chisom saw the whole thing from her window and turned away quietly, because some moments are too delicate for commentary. From that evening, things changed. Not dramatically, not with any announcement, just slowly, the way good things change, quietly and for keeps.
Thank you for listening to the end of the story. Please like, share, and subscribe. See you in our next episode. Bye.